Good evening. Welcome to another Traders Community podcast. Welcoming all investors, traders, punters and dribblers. Well, the bulls are back in the house, or still in the house, however you want to look at it. The Dow is up for the third consecutive day. The Russell 2000, the small cap index, is up for the fourth consecutive day. Remember, that was the hardest hit. And we have seen some big moves, particularly after hours in some of these stocks we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about those that had earnings, TWLIO, MGM, Disney, Uber, or Uber, however you want to pronounce that. We're going to talk about some of the stocks we traded through the day. And, of course, the ones we've been on a couple of days now, like Peloton or Peloton. Natural gas and oil today was an EIA number. And talk about that. Oil's back at $90. Natural gas flirted up and down with $4. We're going to talk about that. And we got Johnny. He's going to talk a little bit about a deal with Salesforce with NFT. That sounds really interesting. And, of course, the Bitcoin. So, without further ado, let's get started and welcome Johnny and the glorious Madavi with their insight. We're going to go through some of those trades and information. So let's get started and go through the indices first up. We're going to go through, as in front of you, you can see what we normally trade here, is oil, Natty, Russell, and SPUs. Russell has been an interesting one. A difficult one. It's really just been an option seller's market of the last few days. But let's start off with the S&P. So today was a pretty straightforward day as far as the SPUs went. If we start off with our weekly, we've had that big spike as we know for a few days. We have been holding at the Cajun right here, the pink line. And if we want to look at our Murray, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? So we're just sitting above the 7/8. This is the weekly Murray. And that's what's been holding us. It broke through overnight, which a lot of us, that was our buy as far as momentum trade. And then it continued up through the day. Now, it looks massive, but we're talking this whole thing's not even 100 points, right? So, but you can see where it is. It came back and spat and retested, and that gave it power when it went back through it today. And we're actually closed right. Did we close, or at least we tested this low from just before we crushed, like just over 5 weeks ago. Okay, so that's what's relevant there. We know that. We know the count. No, that's not going to change punters. We know that count there. Let's look at our daily so you can see it clearer. This is where we got bullish. If you recall, when it got back up and double tap this, real straightforward, which meant we traded from the long side, and these is what we took our shorts off. So the equivalent here on the weekly is it didn't get over, right? Now look where we are testing if you look at the daily. So that's that low I speak of over here in the weekly. So it's good to have a long-term strategy and you build around it. How I favor it, hey, we need to be trading from the long side. Hey, we need to be trading from the short side, right? So we've gone from extreme bearish, extreme bullish, typical stock market. You get that a lot in bear markets, or as we said in the start of something really major. In other words, it's all about greed and fear. And as we go through the year, we're going to get more guests on about that, how to deal with your minds and stuff, a lot from sports and stuff like that. Anyway, so here we are. We can see that. That becomes pretty clear, that resistance, right? So you know where if it breaks up and if it fails. Now let's go down to the 30-minute, because that was kind of a nice upswing here. We didn't even get down to the Cajun. You saw this pump here the other day, which works in with our daily, right? And we've just basically gone up through there. You got a few starters here, false starts. So you go a little bit once you get going, our main swing is 4 hours, 240. Look at that. So that was the other thing that pumped it. So look, remember, previous low, if it doesn't get it, that was the other reason. So you just look at different time frames, particularly if you're an options trader and you're putting on a bit. Because remember, as you go up, vol comes off. So it really depends on what one you really got to think out what strike price, that's the word I was looking for, you're going to touch on, okay? And you can see that double top right there again. Okay, 3 minute, I think we all know how to trade. Only one trade we did at the close was we sold off that level, and then we bought, and Madavi, when he comes on, he did very similar on the Nasdaq, but this went back through the cloud, tested Cajun, and popped. And again, because we had such a big sell-off, and the way math work, you can see we have these wide spreads, right, on Murray, okay? So that's that. So a quick look at, where did I put that Russell? So are you there, Madav? Let's bring on Madavi for the Nasdaq.
Yep, right here, bud.
So Nasdaq, as I said, similar. So those that are new, basically, I'm more SPUs, Madavi's more Nasdaq, unless one really becomes crappy, untradeable. We tend to, we may move on to something else. So yeah, if you want to walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, today, during the middle of the day, man, this market just took off, and I'm still short my a little bit longer position, that snap. That didn't do so well. And I kept on trying to fight the trend for a while. Then I just took a break, walked away from it, came back and got with the market, and went long the futures, and then the NQs, and did some shorts along the way. So traded a lot better in the afternoon. Just wasn't in sync. This kind of took me off guard, being so much strength coming in. But that could either be, like Nate said, starting something new, or this could be the blow off we're looking for. And these earnings are, I guess, they're not great to me, but I guess people are loving it.
I think we're back in that buy the dip thing.
Fuel on the fire, and pushing this market up. Because what people just look at is stocks going up, so they go, oh, these stocks are going to, earnings must be great. But you really dig down deep into these earnings, and you'll see the big flaws in it. I pointed one out to Mate today, how a technology company makes its money. It's supposedly be best technology, promoting stocks, I think, but we'll talk about that another day. So that's until the aftermarket, and the aftermarket is when I made my day good, So I got some great aftermarket trades, which me and Mate will go over in a minute. So that's about it. So not too active today. Got beat up in the morning a little bit, and still taking my loser in my.
Yeah, that's it about there. Yeah,
but they just did a $1.4 billion secondary. So I don't know where this thing's going to go, but we'll see.
So yeah, that's a good point. So it's amazing how it was the end of the world and everyone's going to lose their house 2 weeks ago, right? Living in the streets. To now, it's like it's forgotten. Well, tomorrow we have the CPI number. And to put it in perspective, we've gone parabolic, 125 handles in the SPUs since yesterday's low. So there's and we had two bond auctions, which are on the side of 3 and a 10. We rate them A- and A, the two of them. And that's consistent with the desks at the main investment bank. So they were really, really strong options. So think of that two ways. That also means they're buying bonds, right? So the stock market ignores it because they just think a rate. The disconnect is pretty massive, as Madav is pointing to. So yes, there is a chance. There's always, what's that movie? There's always a chance, right? But that's a lower thing in the bigger picture. So just keep your levels. We went through those levels. What to talk about. I can give you some specific levels on the SPUs. On the top side, well, I should go back to the Spurs. So here's the futures, and I'll show cash for those that trade cash, as we look at both of them. So on the Spurs, you got this cloud way up here, right? 46.35. But before there, you got 46.15 in here. So you can see all these levels. So that's that. We're right at that break. And so you just go up this ladder, and that's your other mathematical points. On your downside, you got, here we are, 47.7, which is the Cajun. And we can work our way all the way down to this tanker right here, which is 26. And 25 is also a level for optionality. So you look at your OIs, look at these levels, keep it real simple. Okay, so we've done Nasdaq, we've done Spurs, Nasdaq. Let's go quick before we got a bunch of stocks to get through. I just want to show you cash. So on cash, you want to watch this as well, particularly if you spy. Very much, sometimes you want to look if there's a different pattern. So I just have this drawn on my daily cash. This is my big channel. It's a nice big channel I'm watching. You can see it's very similar. But look, when it isn't similar, that's also a very good tell for you. And one of the other reasons we got bullish the other day, remember, was because of Peloton. So when you see crap companies, situations, ignoring it, it's two things. It's either short market, combine that with a good story. So let's quickly look at oil. We're not going to bother too much with the Russell. It hasn't done too much, and we looked at it real briefly. So crude oil had its EIA today. It was a bigger draw, much bigger draw on the Cushing, which is the hub for WTI. So you need to keep an eye on that if you are trading oil, trading WTI. Okay, so we closed right on the daily tanking. If you recall, we were short this yesterday and shorted Exxon. We took the Exxon was via puts. We took profit on that yesterday, and the futures. So if we go to the daily, you can see exactly what's going on right there. Right. Let's have a look at the weekly over here. So basically, when you see that, it's the market coming back in balance. So let's go to on a longer term, what you want to do is watch this Chico, this blue line, and I'll tell you that as well, right? There is a lot going on in the world, and I was playing with a buddy of mine, trying to avoid trades on Twitter today. My mate, Greg, and we were just about Russia and all that sort of stuff. He basically takes the Russian side, I take the Estonian side, so it's just a bit of fun. But the point is it brings people in and you get their opinions. So anyone can have an opinion, you don't really know. So just look at the way the market reacts to that sort of stuff, okay? That's what we want to watch there. We have the Iran deal, which Madavi spoke about yesterday, in the works. And I think I know the majors have reported now. We've had Chevron, Exxon, Conoco, and BP, and I think Royal Dutch has already reported. So we know where the production and everything is, so keep an eye on that. That's your fundamentals. Weather's your other one. Now, as far as the 4 hour goes, this is a beautiful chart. Look at this resistance all the way down. So you know what it needs to break, and you know that we're in extreme areas. Remember, that's a plus 2.8. That's why we went short. Remember that day? It was a real easy short, really. Nearly, that was $5. We got kind of the meat of it, but we managed to get a lot of Exxon on it. But just keep it simple. Look at this. The reason we use the Nova Wave rules, it keeps you disciplined, and this is all about your mind. The whole game's about your mind. Egos. I mean, when I get bloody texts from people, oh, I did this, I did that, I'm like, well, what about the shit you missed? Oh, what are you talking about? So don't be that guy, right? Keep it real clinical. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you're disciplined and you have a plan. What doesn't matter is if you're right or wrong in that sense, right? So if you know what I mean by that. Anyway, let's have a look at Natty real quick. And excuse the French there. So Natty has been one way, as we spoke yesterday. Let me just, we don't need to look at that. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red bars. This is when all your dribblers were all over TV and all over your fib tweet. You know, oh, I'm long Natty. Oh, I assure you, mate. So this is what happens to those. So remember, buy the rumor, buy the fact. No optionality. No. I'll give you a little tip. The bloke at a big store that does this for a living is going to have a better idea, right? Knowing what, you know, it's often a lot of these moves are from optionality where people are oversold Premier and stuff like that. Anyway, straight down, you can see it. We talked about that. Very clear on the weekly. We have all those marked for you. Nothing changes there. As far as the 4 hour, look at this. It never even got, and sideways this is going to happen. So be aware, just use common sense. Don't just buy any little thing because it gets over tanking. So remember, 100 times, understand Ichimoku if you're going to use it. And we use it with other things. But so we got this gap above here, still not filled. Doesn't mean it will either, right? It will at some point, perhaps. But so follow that out. We've come all the way from 6/8 down to 2/8. It's a good 4/8 move right into support. So this needs to hold, and we saw that work today. Look over here on your 3-minute chart. You can see the double bottom just under $4. It's obviously a big OI area. So we will watch how these models develop. We got warmer, and that's what happens, right? And so your other things you want to watch, the LNGs, and obviously the political situation in Europe has had an effect. Okay, let's move on. I think that covers all those. Are we ready for stocks, Madavi? You there, bud?
Here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I know Sarah wanted us to look at TWLIO, and we ended up trading it. Well, actually, I didn't. Madav did.
So
let's look at that. Let's bring that chart up.
I'm looking to cover it any minute.
So let me just hide that. So, yeah, where did I find a brief summary there? So they had earnings today, and you can see one heck of a run there. Yeah, we ended up trading it. Well, actually, I didn't. Madav did. So this is one of our favorites. When this is not really a dribbler's. This is more a punter's. Would you say? It's actually a pretty good trader, but I know it can get thrown into that rating at sometimes, right? Let me just find. I actually had it somewhere. Where did I put it? All these earnings. What computer? So if you want to walk us through that while I find their earnings.
Which one is this? The TWLIO?
TWLIO, yeah, on that top left-hand side.
The earnings came out, and I don't know. I guess they were something great, that it just blew right off, and it just went crazy. So when it got up to about $53, I started taking. Remember, you got to have a large stop loss into with train aftermarkets and these, maybe even sometimes up to 10, 12, 13 points out of the money you could get to. But you want, this thing was up
stocks,
like,
$200 things.
I think it was up like $60 at that time, I believe. At 253, it was probably $53 or something, $52. So I did my first entry in it. Bam! It blew right past it. Next thing I know, this thing is at 62, right? Then I did the same amount again at 62. Then it was starting to get weaker. It was not going up. So I was like, okay, this could be a short temporary top, So I did another smaller size trade, shorted it, and I held it. And luckily, it came back down to I think I got out my first lot. I got out of like at 52, and then I got out some at 50. 51 and 50, 250. So, and then I held back a little bit of it. Then it went all the way down to 37. Just my luck, I had a good position on and was impatient, and it dropped down to 36, 37. And I was like, damn. So I was like, seeing if it was going to drop lower. I held that. We got to bounce back. And I ended up covering it in the 40s, mid 40s, 45. Then it went up to 48. And I saw it kind of like not the power start. It's gone with it. You know, you can tell the explosives not there. So I figured this is a goodest time at any to short again. So I'm short currently there and just holding on to it right now to see what we do. But notice one thing, on days that we're parabolic moving up, I'm not buying these stocks. I'm shorting them. You know, because these things get way overpriced, and I think I can make more instead of trying to go with the pack, go with the sheep, and trying to fight to get shares. Unless I'm in right away, I'm in at the beginning of it. But if I see the stock's already ran up 5-6 points or whatever, depending on the stock, if it's already ran up a lot, I'll look to the other side of it to get tired and really stretched out. Then I'll go on the short side of it. You know, so remember, because there's an up there, you don't have to go long. You could go short. It's dangerous, but you got to pick the tops in it. You know, that you think are tops. You don't. They say the top is infinity, the bottom is zero.
Well, actually, a good example is the chart we have up in TWLIO. This is why we use Murray, right? And with it. But it got to almost plus 2H, which means extreme overbought, right? So this is where Madavi started selling. So it's not just throwing a knife out there. You see the momentum waning. It's getting overbought. We're talking about something that was up $60, right? A $200 stock. And so their earnings were good because they reported a revenue beat and they gave really strong quarterly guidance. But at the end of the day, we know we're in euphoria. This gives you an idea of the way the market is. It's very much buy the dip. They forget about losing. This is like a real, this is powerful enough to be a punter. It's not quite a dribbler, would you say? Because there is kind of weight behind it, big people in it. They did make a comment that they like their acquisitions of Segment and ZipWhip. That's the sort of thing analysts and investors like to hear, right, when they do a good buy. So there is rationale on it. You can see this flag. And so watch that flag tomorrow and do your levels. I don't think looking at this gap chart, there wasn't a gap. It looks like it just went straight up. But that was some nice trading. And so, yes, you're a little bit upset, mate, that you didn't hold it the whole way. But in these really powerful ones, I mean, that's what I do too. I tend to get out a little bit early to protect myself. But still a great trade.
The thing that ruins your psychology is once you get down some deep money into some of these things, and like Mate always says, you're so much happy to break even. Even though some of the prices I got out was close to my first entry, but when you're down that much, if I sold more on it, so you're going to be up. Do you want to risk that cash, going back red? And a lot of people who just had the fear putting up, the fear mechanism always beats the greed. And that's the toughest part.
There's not many can
compared to
harden
a
up,
trade
as we say.
you get into and you're fully up on, never down. You tend to get more greedy compared to the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why, and we say once we get more comfortable, the market settles down. We're going to do a lot of kind of interviewing with more mental, strong people. We got it between us. We know a lot. Our background sports, so we know a lot of people that have adversity and all that. Now that's really relevant for what we're doing, and strong points. A lot of people never get it just because they don't want to. Admit that, probably, right, mate? But we all fight it. You got to fight your demons. We all got them.
I mean, I've been trading in a while now, and a long while. I still sometimes can't get over it. It's still, the losing, the fear part still sometimes gets to me. As I do take a lot more risk than an average person, but I still have that mechanism. I try to fight it, but it's a good thing. It's a safety. Safety mechanism too.
Yeah, so I mean, and so the main reason I use a Nova Wave and we have a technical framework is to kind of discipline yourself. You have rules, and it forces you to buy and sell sometimes, right? Like when everything's collapsing, your natural instinct is to not buy. So I mean, that's why I made a point about a week ago. Ignore these people that say don't catch knives, don't do this, and don't do that. These usually are people that A, haven't traded in the trenches, are pros or with a big fund or bank and know how this trades, right? That's pure fear speaking. So that's why you use your levels. And you know what? If it's something that's a stock that's crappy, a pure, absolute pure dribbler, well, you shouldn't be trading it anyway. Now, the dribbler type stocks is what you smash up on days like this when you know they're buying them, right? But anyway, that's the thing for another day. That's what we're talking about, and that comes with things. So nice work there on Twilio. So Disney was another one. As far as earnings go, that's let me put that on a 3 minute. 1 minute's a little bit too fast, so you can see what happened.
Now we're talking about Disney. This is not a 2-year-old company. This is a 70-year-old company.
Yeah, this is like an investment trader stock. Everyone knows.
Like the mutual funds for a long time. Now it's become a high flyer. But the law of averages still come into reason, and in all these stocks. And I'll kind of see what my thinking was behind it.
Well, so before you talk about your charts, I just want to read a little bit about their earnings. Yeah, so they went up, and the main reason was they doubled it. This is their headline. They doubled its revenue in its parks, experiences, and consumer products. Well, it's like the parks, no one was going to them from Omicron and or COVID before it, all the different Rona strains. So it's good for a thing. And the same things as no one was taking a cruise. I mean, it makes you wonder why you would. And their hotels, right? So they're going to be up anyway. So it sounds... Sorry, mate?
Isn't it kind of like this? If you go to 0 to 2, 200%?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, it's like... Now, their subscriptions are up for their streaming services. But I don't know. I'm just looking at the total. What I remember about Disney was we all had those free ones, right? So a lot of their subscriptions were non-paid, and it's whether people sign up for them. You know, so Netflix is obviously further down the road, and Amazon as well. Both of those raised their prices. So Walt Disney's still in that phase of trying to entice people to it, same as Apple, you know. But anyway, that's a quick look at it. So if you want to go through the trades, what you saw there.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When the CEO came on too, you talked about the metaverse, they're in. You talked about ESPN football, they're in. So that tells me they're trying to find a new division that could be their milk cow. Is either going to be the entertainment or this meta world or the NFL footballs, So it tells me these park divisions, Disney's not very happy about. They want to kind of lean themselves off there.
Yeah, they would have found out because that really hurt them when they were so weighed into that. I know it was unexpected, Rona, but
they'll never tell you that. They'll tell you how great their parks are and everything like that. You could come to the metaverse, better place to come than Disney. But to me, where they're putting, I look to see where they're putting their money. And their money is going into the metaverse, into their subscription business and movie business. They found out the park business takes a lot of labor. You got to put up with unions or whatever else you got to do, get people there. It's not an easy project compared to the other stuff. It takes less manpower and less people you got to deal with and security, whatever.
For sure, yeah. It's real capital intensive and labor intensive.
Really capital intensive, and the profit margin, I'm sure, it's a lot lower. All right, so when I seen Disney, it's up 18 points. We're talking, I don't know how many shares this thing's got. Just imagine how much this quarter is going to beat by to be up that much. I mean,
right.
And it's not going to leave nothing for tomorrow or for the next guy to get into. So, at a certain point, it's going to have to back down a little bit, even though it's not a year's highs. I mean, that was just when you're looking at this year's highs of these stocks.
Where is it in the daily?
It's guys just sitting at home trading, and they don't really care. Hey, it's got no business. Disney's closed, the parks are all closed, but we're gonna take it to all-time highs. because his TV division playing old Disney
Oh,
movies
it's a
is
long
great.
way from that. That's
Yeah.
$200, over
It's,
$200. So.
it's the greatest business in the world. The theme parks are closed. They're losing their money everywhere there. And they got the subscription business that plays you 40-year-old Disney movies. And in the future, this thing's going to be the next big thing to Netflix, you know? And
Right. That's
but they're
their
going to have their
theory.
ESPN and the UFC deals. So they're doing some great
Yeah,
stuff,
their
right?
TV stuff's good. I think their streaming. I mean, I'm just saying it as a dad with sons.
Yeah.
That you
They got
watch all the
some-
Marvel, and then you know.
Yeah, it's good if you got little kids that want to watch those movies. But I mean, it's not something. They're starting to add more material until the content gets a lot better. I mean, watching 4-year-old movies is,
Yeah, it's got a captive crowd,
know,
like parents of young kids, all those Disney movies. So there's obviously, but we got to look at it apples to apples like that versus Netflix.
they only charge like $5-6, and they gave you every. So when you sign up for it, I think I got mine for free for a year. That's the only reason I
That's what
took
we
it.
got. Yeah,
So how much of it was just given away in those datas?
right.
You can ask yourself. So I've seen this trade come over there. It got into the 60s, and that's where I started. I got my first one at 60. Then I got another one. Look it up. Here, look at my plotter for 1 second. Let me give you the exact prices. Where is it? Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to spring through all these trades.
So while you look at that, I'm looking at the TWLIO, how much it came down.
I saw some left.
So look at TWLIO. If you're an Elliott Wave, so if you're looking at it's all being bullish, which is a chance, this can be a massive ABC, and you're going to know. This is if you're a TWLIO investor or trade. This is your big level, 171. It's a long way away now. It's like we're trading $70 away. But so that was that breakup level. So that's what it come down to. I guess I should have looked at this 3 days ago, Madavi. Look.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks, Sarah, for reminding me. But look at that.
So I got in at 160.30 for my first entry. Second entry, I got in at 161.50, and I stopped there. Luckily for this thing didn't go too far ahead of me. It went up to I think 62 something. Just I was only out of money for a little bit, and not too big, couple of points maybe. But then it came back down to 157 and stuff, and that's where I cleared out between 157 to 156.80. So I covered. It was not a super winner, but it was good. It was like
you squeezed out about what you could of that little flag. So this is a similar pattern we looked at. Excuse me.
I was really happy with that. Even though in TWLIO I made maybe more point wise, but I think but it's a different type of stock, and your size and everything's appropriate for each different thing you trade.
Yeah.
So because the stock makes a lower move, doesn't necessarily mean you're making you didn't make as much money as the one that made a bigger move, because you're gonna size everything as to proportion for what you're trading.
That's a very important point. Like size appropriate to your volatility. That's out there. Don't put it all on red, right?
And how you could get in and out of these systems, right?
Yeah.
So that was another short. Again, the only stock I went long in was MGM, and it didn't work. I made like 20 cents on it. Bought it at 50.40, got a 54.70. Now look at it, went back down. So that's what about trying to go long these stocks. Maybe the more money is on the downside of it than the upside, and it shows you how much I made doing a long and a short. So MGM's and stuff had supposedly blowout earnings or whatever. They're great. Everything's going great there. Everybody's gambling again.
Yeah, they're saying they beat on the top and bottom line. They said it's Las Vegas Strip resorts saw an occupancy rate of 86% during the quarter, compared with a 38% occupancy rate during the same period a year ago. So that goes back to that headline with Disney, like 0 to 2 is 200%, but is it relevant?
But they did. 2019, so before the pandemic, their earnings were better in 2019.
Yeah. Oh, their earnings were, yeah. Because now what a lot of these companies have done is they've fired everyone, or they got paid by PPP loans, so they had a whole free year of slope, whatever it is. But anyway, they've all slimmed down.
They don't do any comps no more. When I used to go there, when I used to be gambling a lot, they sent me jets and everything. Now they're just like cheapos. That's why I'm gambling.
That's all changed a bit now. Probably a good thing, though, mate.
I don't give you as much comp and you pay. You want a towel, you got to pay for it.
Well, now you can trade TWLIO in your house, right? So
yeah, I don't like no thanks. I don't want to come here no more. Then took the fun out of it. If you're not going to pick me up, take me there. All right, forget it.
Yeah, and you're not going to walk to the fridge to get your free bourbon, so that's a lot safer.
In Vegas, one thing is they did build some quick killer bungalows and these things where they have their own chefs in there. That's pretty cool, So, but
yeah, they were good days. That's true. Now we're all old and mature, but
I don't know about that. I don't want to pay for everything.
Well, I'm old and mature.
Maybe I'm too cheap.
What's the old saying? 2 dogs and 4 boys. 2 dogs. Sorry, 2 boys and 4 dogs. That'll slow you down. Wow.
I figured it like this. Well, all right, if they're paying for everything, if I lose this much money, I can just say, hey, this is how much I spent on a trip. But if I got to pay for everything and go lose money, that makes it even worse.
Yeah, it's like a double hit. Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't make very much sense to me. I could go around the world for that price.
Yeah, I can do that with some of my trades,
Yeah.
Getting hit both sides.
And it gets boring. I lived out there. I had a home out there. As soon as they stopped giving me stuff, I bought a house.
Yeah. Well, that's some good stories. Well, let's get back. We might deviate a little bit too much there, so let's get back.
Talking about how they improve their margins is they're skimping on stuff. It's like when you used to get like a big hamburger and look at McDonald's, you measure it every year, it gets smaller and smaller.
You know what? You're going to laugh, but what did we... So the other day we got a pizza, like one of those frozen, but kind of the high-end frozen ones, and put it in the oven, bring it out. Sam goes, damn, look how small that is. It was the same package and everything. And they put them, say they keep the same price, or they do one of those, specials for a week sort of thing. So you're right. That's what they're doing on a lot of these things.
That's what they do. And then now they can't get it smaller. They put preservatives or some other stuff to make it look bigger.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a joke there, but I'll leave it alone.
So you're probably getting 2% meat and 98% fillers now. It's good. You weren't a commercial. They said, "Where's the beef?"
Exactly. Well, I'm going to change the subject before we get into trouble. But so Uber was. This is the only one the only one I did. I stayed long after on the Spurs. I think we went through that on that nice play. So Uber, what was funny is I shorted it, so I saw it pop. And Madavi, I think you're already trading TWLIO at that point. And he goes, the earnings aren't out. And I'm like, well, it's pop. And it turned out they hadn't been out. And I managed to get like $1 plus out of it. Then the earnings came out. So I more scalped it. And we got like another 50 cents. And the only time I actually went long on it, when there was a headline went across, they changed it a little bit, that it was the first time they'd made money. So it went up, but it only went up like 50 cents. So we called BS on that and flipped along and went short. Because if you recall, when Tesla, first time they said they made money, the first time they made money was remember that crazy day it started, and ever since then it just went vertical. But it didn't do this. Obviously, a different quality in earnings. Did you want to update us on TWLIO? Is that what you?
One point I want to make about Uber and Lyft and everything. They don't talk about people doing rideshare anymore. All right, they're talking about deliveries. Their food delivery service. If you
the lazy people, yeah.
They try to avoid that as much as they can. Oh, we got shortage, but it's getting better. People are still not comfortable taking rideshare. I don't think as much as they used to be. And it reflects how they're trying to deflect on how their delivery services are going up, and that's what their main points are sticking at. Remember what these guys talk about. So until
very good point, actually,
come back, they're gonna need that Tesla or somebody make that automated car for them, so they don't have to pay the drivers to make any money.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things are redirections, misdirections. Particularly, 100%. And if it was meaningful, look, we don't invest in dribblers. This is in our 30 dozen, top 30 dozen dribbler stocks, Uber. So gives you an idea what we think of it.
I'm a buyer of the stock. I'm holding it forever.
Which one's that?
The automated driving.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting who ends up with that, right? There's many players in that sphere, from Google to Tesla and all that, and see how it goes. I mean, I'm for one, I won't be doing it, and I'm, the roads will get pretty unsafe, in my opinion. They got to have their own lanes and all that sort of thing. That old expression, "Stay in your lane." But anyway, from a trade, I'm just trading, and you can see off the grid here how it's a tight grid, so it's pretty easy to trade off on order flow.
So when it's automated, every car becomes automated. These cars are going to talk to each other, really. They're going to be like, hey, you're there, hey, move over, So it's going to be a communication eventually going on like that.
So you don't think there's going to be any kind of road range, like the Mercedes guy is going to get real aggressive with the Kia car or something?
I mean, the robots, I don't think I have road rages yet. They
will. AI.
Yeah. Maybe you give them too much power or something. But anyway, so mate was trading at Uber, and he was kind of explaining that he was trading, so I was kind of getting the feel for the stock through him. And I saw it at 43. I shorted it, and I covered half my position at like 22.30, I think 22.30, and I still got the other half. It ran back up to 43, and it came to 42.70, and I put back another half in there too. Now I'm sitting on my full position still right now. Look and see if this thing is going to dribble down a little bit, or I can take a little profit right now if I want to. And then by the time we get off this cast, maybe I'll be out of it. Are you still in yours, mate?
No, I put that trail on just before we did this, and
okay.
We did have to bring that up. See this little spike here?
I'm hoping this thing never makes.
See the high is 93. I got trailed out at 92. Right there. Nice. Yeah. I wish I could. Huh? I thought I told you. I said, I just got trailed out, and then I pulled down the. Yeah, I wasn't going to have it. I mean, I liked the position to be short, but I just wanted to lock in the profit. It got down under 42. So
it got down to 42.15. I should have covered it all out.
Yeah. Well, so that was like my third trade on that. So I sold this little thing. This see that little ABC?
Yeah.
So I just had it there just because I didn't want to lose, basically, as we came back. But we made some decent money on it.
One of the few stocks I'm still in it. I mean, I traded the other one yesterday, and for some reason, these things if they get sold off, they always come back, because this thing's been trading between 38, if you look at a chart, to 45, 50, probably for the last 2 years. And I guess people are just waiting for the automation to come out,
Well, I think a lot of these, 85% of these movements, I think are just machines. And that's why our maths works, right? And when it doesn't work, if you're aware of optionality and order flow and how they cover it, that's where it goes into a new phase or whatever. But it still goes in. And so TWLIO is a good example of that, right? So obviously there's a lot of optionality around here, 220, 230, 250. So, but it doesn't really matter so remember, everything's really thin. That's why we're getting these big moves. Volume was bigger today. So all that that's why you want your mind to be clear and have common sense and don't get caught. Like whenever blokes start crying and all that, and it's not their game. Not saying you don't get upset, you're human, but you can't, we had one bloke that was going to give it all up crying, that you get a lot of that. So you don't want to be that situation or mentally like that and trading with fire, then something that moves $60 in an instant. I mean, man, that's an accident waiting to happen, isn't it, if you're not controlled?
Oh, yeah. People get blown out. And, one thing is, mate's better looking at these charts and stuff. My problem is sometimes I get in there, not looking. Then I look at it. When I'm in trouble, I start looking at charts. I'm like, oh, shit, I messed up.
Well, yeah, but so that's why we work good together. Different.
So I'm working on that, get better at it. But
yeah, I find it works good as a handbrake for me, not doing bad trades. Like sometimes you can get caught. It stops you getting caught in the moment, and it keeps you real. So it's a good. Is Johnny here? We should take a little look at Ethereum and Bitcoin.
All right, you need me? I'll be right here just doing some stuff.
Is Johnny here?
Johnny good lately. Yeah, he seems like it. He's got his Johnny boy.
So he gets caught up in that metaverse, punters, and he hangs out with the dribblers up there in the
meta world. He might already start his vacation in Mexico.
He is hanging in Mexico. That's true.
I'm here, guys. Sorry, I was on the phone.
Oh, yeah, sure you were. So I didn't know the headphones up there in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Did your boy Zook ring you today? Should have been a bit happier today, did he?
Yeah.
Made a couple of billion back.
Today, or what
we got tennis shoes, we got wearables, we got all kinds of stuff in the metaverse. Don't let Zuckerberg fool you.
I thought he's the one promoting it. Oh, he's not you're not a fan?
He's promoting his social media side of centralized metaverse.
Is he? The one that we never... Well, let's have a look at... So Bitcoin continued on its merry way today. And people, as I've said 100 times, I don't trade this thing. It's just because you're going to trade so many things, but it's a good trader. But what I watch it is... for the way the speculation's going on with the faster money, the punter, as we say, trader. And so this actually led a lot of the Nasdaq up. And Checkmate said this last week, remember, you can just put Nasdaq and Bitcoin up against each other. So this started this run, and actually Ethereum actually led it, actually. Yeah. But so if you want to talk us through that, I got the charts up there on Bitcoin up the top and Ethereum down the bottom.
Okay, well, you see Bitcoin, it started making its way up through a triangle towards the upside, and then it looks like it failed just in the last little bit here. Let me just pull.
No, Bitcoin's the one up the top. It's still trading around the high.
Yeah, it was earlier. It was up and then it pulled back, and then now it's starting to get a little. And then it came in, and so it could be an ABC correction if it fails here, but it looks like.
Well, what's interesting. It's all green when you go to the weekly. So on a weekly basis, you got the top of your cloud, which is it's a fair way up actually. 42, so 3,000 under, and that's also the tanking. But this is the one you're talking.
Go to the hourly. Yeah.
So it's 4 hour. Let me get you an hourly. Now I see. Okay, I got you. Now I see what you're talking about. Okay, let's bring that down. So what I noted, and this is something Chex taught me on this one. Is when Bitcoin's not unlike Russell and that, when it does this pump and doesn't come down and go sideways, that's one of your really easy trades in it. If you can call it an easy trade there, but that's $4,000 right there. See that?
That's the way she moves.
Yeah, she doesn't muck around. She's like, she's no Twilio though. Twilio's the one that get really, find me something else that goes up $60 in 5 seconds on a $200. That's impressive.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, not bad. Instant, boom.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the Bitcoin thing. It's just going through the motions. I see if it breaks this, it can go to the upside, which will go to the next level, which is around 45.
Well, actually, right up there in the Cajun, believe it or not, it's all the way up to 51,000. And so here's a little tip for those that, I mean, we went through this yesterday, the lower low and your ABC. You had the flat Cajun was in play when it got in above when it got back in the cloud. So that was telling you it was going to pull it like a magnet up towards the Tenkan. So now it's still pulling up here. So then you go to a lower, that's a weekly time zone, which is what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, but this is one nice big move. So there's obviously an underbid here. And you can see the same. But here's what I mean by Ethereum. See how Ethereum today went higher?
Yeah. It's actually, I think, a little bit more bullish. Higher highs.
Yeah, it's been strong. So the spread, I know a lot of people spread on different cryptos. So you can see, we saw this on the weekly. Back in the day, this never got underneath as much as Bitcoin. And so when Bitcoin actually collapsed, this one got up above it. So, but you can see just today, I mean, higher. This didn't get to that higher high. This went to a higher high and is above it. So, I mean, I don't trade these, so I'm just looking at purely as...
Your girl, Kathy Wood, is very bullish on Ethereum. Not as much as Bitcoin, but...
Kathy had a good day today, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
I saw it flying past in the aftermarket. RK,
I think the two holdings that I have, G and W. Let's take a look at those two guys right now. Hold on, I don't have it on your PC, but G's up almost $3. Well, $2.60.
I can pull them up if you want. Look at them.
Yeah, W is one that was up $6 today.
The mighty ARK W, which is the drug one, right? Isn't that the drug one? Yeah, Genomic Revolution. Oh. Yeah, she revolutionized a few people. So here's a 3-minute. Sorry, I couldn't help that. So it looks like the ARK, they pushed it off the sandbar, and it's had a bit of a run. So that's 30 minutes. Let's go 4 hours here. So this is that long-term downtrend that we drew a long time ago. We're coming back to test that. So we actually got down. So remember, this was one actually we liked, actually, now that I look at it. So it did a double bottom down here, and both they were double spit of minus 1/8. So it had a nice bottom, and then it broke up, and here's where the secondary buy. So a lot of people buy off this because you know where you're wrong, right? Simple defense. It broke and came back and held the Cajun, and that's what fueled this run, which got up to 41.55, 51.55. You can see all the congestion there, or supply, however you want to call it, and that's where we're at today. So this is potentially a triple top, but it can also, if I was to draw a triangle there, that's a flat top triangle. So meaning if it breaks it, it has power. So if it gets through this downtrend, you've got this room up here would be your next target. So it's actually bounced.
Yeah.
$9, right?
Yeah, the W was impressive with the way that it bounced. And
W.
With the numbers coming out tomorrow, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to
these guys report tomorrow? Or you're talking about the inflation?
The inflation numbers. Because remember, these are all innovated, disruptive.
Yeah, it's punt, yeah. These are dribble specials.
Exactly. It's the buffet.
That's a dribble buffet. Yeah. So you get these down at the Crown, but you might end up at on the other. What's that? Trying to think of the name of it.
Coral Reef.
Yeah, this isn't Bellagio material. Well, it can be, but you might end up.
Oh, it's Old Corral. I'm sorry.
You might. Yeah, you might end
Bellagio.
up.
I was I forgot my.
Yeah, you might end up at one of those Binion casinos. Anyway, there's a story about that. I coached a guy, one of those guys' sons in rugby. Funny world. I could tell you some stories. Anyway, so this is similar to the ARK-K. ARK-G. So you can see the same thing. So they do have a very similar pattern, which tells you, and I think Madavi pointed this out a few weeks ago, that selling was probably from that ETF because it was across the board. Because they're all a little bit different. What they do have in common, of course, is ARK and Cathy Wood. And they do have different things, yeah, and Tesla, yeah. So you can see that there, which means we're going to have to look at Tesla, I guess. So
it's up a little bit, almost $10.
Yeah, it's so again identical pattern. Look at this, punters. You got all these flat top triangles. So if you see the lead, whoever's the leaders in the pack, that'll give you confidence for other ones. And I dare say a lot of these dribbler stocks. Tesla's kind of everyone now. It's got investors, traders, and of course your punter in there. So you got that same pattern. Look, you add an nauseam. So do a line on all these sort of stocks, people, and you'll know where you're at. Okay, I think did we cover everything? So let's talk about bonds, because tomorrow we got CPI. And the last 2 days we've had two big bond auctions. We had the 3-year yesterday, and we had the 10-year today. They're both stellar auctions, meaning people were buying bonds. So back in the day, buying bonds as an investment versus stocks as an investment. That's an important thing that a lot of the dribblers forget because they go all fired up. Because they're thinking, rates aren't. Well, we're almost at 2. Anyway, so as far as the treasuries markets, aside from that, it was pretty mixed today. So remember we had the 10-year auction. So the 5-year and longer tenors, meaning 10, 30, etc., they had modest gains. A lot of that was obviously fueled by the bond auction. The 3-year note was underperformed for the second day in a row, and that's relevant because they had an auction yesterday. So the 2-year was unchanged. 2-year, remember, is what we look for Fed funds. So tomorrow you got a CPI. You wouldn't know we had CPI coming out looking at these stock charts. So a lot of shorts have obviously been squeezed out. Now you got longs in place. So the 2-year was unchanged at 134. Keep an eye on that tomorrow. The 3-year was up 4 as far as to 161. The 5-year came down. The 10-year came down 3 basis points to 193. So I'm talking about the yield here. So yeah, good point. So that's, remember I said the 3-year was weaker. When I said, so it was actually down 4 basis points if we talk in price, up 4 in yield. The 30-year and the 10-year were the two that had strength. So watch those tomorrow. And that fits in with the auction, right? That tells you that they're buying bonds for safe haven, investment, however you want to put it. So keep an eye on that tomorrow. They are expecting another monster CPI number. It'll be the narrative. So I noticed that some of these central bankers, and this is what kind of fueled the US markets. I think it was the French central banker. We're at the top. Inflation. So they've been saying that for 12 months. The whole transitory thing. So of course, so that's the narrative, right? This is a peak. This is a peak, and they want, and that keeps it up longer. So remember, what makes stock markets stay up and go up is a lot of it's short covering. So that's one of the silly things when they ban short selling. It takes away one of the main buyers, right? So little things like that are important to remember. So we have that. We spoke about oil. We have the EIA report tomorrow for Natgas. So you watch the weather report today. That's spinning around 4. That'll be the result of what weather does overnight. Remember, there's a multitude of models. So tomorrow we talked about CPI. So the consensus is 0.5%. Prior was 5%, 0.5%. The core last time was 0.6%. The consensus is that that'll pull back to 0.5. We also have the weekly claims numbers. I can't believe it's already Thursday, Johnny. The consensus for that's 234K. They're going to watch this, remember, because we just had the jobs number and it was a blowout number on Friday. Prior for that was 238, and continuing they're going to watch for that. We talked about the natural gas. That was a big number last time, minus 268. And all these numbers, check out Into the Vortex. It's a really good review on Trades Community. It's why all of the big analysts and traders put information on that, all free, as is to the around the barrel, the oil and gas ones. So whatever level you are, from investing all the way to dribbler, if you want a good free understanding of those markets, have a look at those two reports. And they're written by people that actually trade or are big brokers and analysts, so from the pro side. And the big one, of course, when all that's done, at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, we're going to get the 30-year Treasury bond options. Now remember, some of these big moves have come from this auction where they've been really badly taken, if you want to look back at your last month options on that. And so that's pretty well all from me. Anything for anyone else? We all good?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I'm good.
So, well, thanks, Madavi, for walking us through some of those stock charts.
No problem. Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And thanks for those people that DM'd us or replied to a tweet about different stocks to talk about. We're happy to do that. Remember, it's all about, we like to share what we're doing. It keeps us actually focused. Sometimes a little bit, how do you say that word? Cathartic. Cathartic. Because it keeps you honest and disciplined, which can be a hard thing when it gets crazy, right? So we used to, not in this trading room, but my other one, I had a sign when you shut the door, it says leave your ego here when you hang your coat up. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I wore a tie to work, but anyway. So anyway, thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go smash every like across all those videos. Share it. If you have a suggestion, what you'd like to hear or explain, just drop us a line, right? Let's have a quick look at Disney's coming off. Let me go back to TWLIO before we shut up shop.
TWLIO's 240. I got out of the trade we did, Johnny. Up at 47, I think it was.
Okay, yeah. I'm still in.
You got yours?
I'm in. Yeah.
You still in it?
Yeah, I'm still in it.
You got money now, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
So there we go. Our buddy Chemo loves this stock. He made a lot of money on this one. Loves it.
TWLIO. He loves it.
So, yeah, that's it. Enjoy your family tonight. It's Wednesday night, middle of the week. Always a good night to, have a good steak. Don't remember, stay off the drink when you're trading during the week. Remember that, Johnny. Exactly. Hit the gym. And let's where are we on spoos and everything right now? Okay, here we are. We're trading 14.79 as we go out. What time is it? So 206 on that's the IWM actually. 404, just over $4, just under, right at $90 on crude. There you go. So remember, if you can't be cool,
is she helping you? You're right.
And we'll see you at the roundabout. Thank you for listening.